was next. And so next I want to talk about Josh Burnham. Now, this was an interesting recruitment because when Josh first was on Marcus Freeman's radar, Notre Dame was clearly number 2. He had come up with a final 3 of Notre Dame, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and everybody thought, especially all the Michigan people, they all thought he was going to end up at Michigan because that was the school that was considered sort of his childhood school and in-state school and all those kind of things. And a couple things played out in Notre Dame's favor. The first thing that played out in Notre Dame's favor was the fact that Michigan had some turnover on their defensive staff. That definitely helped Notre Dame. No question about it. That helped Notre Dame. But the other part of that, too, is Marcus Freeman and the relationship Marcus Freeman was able to quickly establish with Josh Burnham and be able to let him know just how much Notre Dame wanted him in this class. And he was able to take Notre Dame from 2nd or 3rd for Josh to clear number 1 in a hurry. And part of it was finding what does Josh Burnham want to hear. And I don't mean that from the standpoint of like being dishonest with them or whatever, but different things are important to different recruits, and finding out what are the things that matter to you and showing you how your program fits those things that you're looking for. That's what I'm referring to. Not any kind of like, well, what does he want to hear? And then you tell him what he wants to hear, even if it's not true. It's more about finding out what's important to him and showing him how that fits into what Notre Dame does. So let's watch some film of Josh Burnham here. There might be some sound at the beginning if I remember correctly. I'll try to mute that right away. Yep. Okay. So this is Josh Burnham. Let's watch a little bit of this. I really, really like what this kid brings to the table. And the first thing you're going to see from Josh Burnham is great size. He's about 6'4", and he's a guy that is long. You saw the pictures when he was Marcus Freeman and Junior Tuihalamaka, just how long he is. Here's the other thing you see. Again, 6'4". He's probably about 210, 215 here, but he's up to over 220 now from what I'm told. Look how loose he is on his feet, how light he is on his feet for such a big kid. And watch this short area power. You don't see linebackers that very often go from basically nothing here, right? Like no forward momentum. He's not coming downhill. And then you watch him just shock a guy. That is powerful. That is a kid that's got very explosive hips. It's very impressive stuff. And if you really want to see Josh's athleticism, what you do is you go watch him play basketball. So he's light on his feet. Look at his patience here he shows. So he's right. I don't know if you can see it. He's the near side, the bottom inside linebacker. See him light on his feet, waits for the run to declare, and then just explodes to the ball carrier for a tackle for loss. It's a really, really athletic kid. He just arrives with force, and he's not even like really – when I say not going hard, I don't mean he's not trying hard. I just mean he's not running full speed. But he arrives with force. Really, really impressed by that. This is the instincts. Reads the quarterback, gets his drop, gets up underneath that route, picks the quarterback off. It's just a really good play, and then you can see the athleticism there. And where you're going to really see like the speed and the agility and things like that, you especially see it on offense, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. But just look at that. This is what I'm talking about. Just shuffle, light on his feet, very nimble, and then just explodes. Explodes downhill and makes that play. Really impressive. Bam. Gets to it, explodes. Really like this kid. Here you see his range. Just covers ground in a hurry and just, again, arrives with a lot of force. Really like this kid. And he's the thing, too, about Josh is he's a really – he's kind of a raw athlete from a technical standpoint. Here's another big play. He's got a lot of things he's got to work on, but he's got a natural feel for the game. Like you see him here. He's about 6'4", plays with a really nice base, stays skinny, gets through the traffic, plays with a good angle, and then bam, just blows the play up. The thing about Josh is he's big and strong enough to play Mike, but he's athletic enough and good enough in coverage that he can play Will. He could even play sort of that strong side linebacker when they go to a 3-down look, and it's kind of a rover. I'll show that here in a little bit. Now let's see some offense. I'm just going to let this play, and you're going to really see the athleticism that Josh Burnham brings to the table. I think the other thing you're going to see is, being a quarterback, this kid's got some leadership. This kid's got some understanding and feel for the game. That was a heck of a run right there. This is a kid who's about 6'4", 215 or so pounds at the time, moving this easily, this kind of explosiveness. This is a linebacker, people. This is what I mean, this kid's really impressive. Really impressive. And when I talk about balance, this is kind of one of the things I'm talking about. Balance for anybody is just the ability to kind of take hits and just keep your feet moving, not get knocked off course. Yeah, gets kind of yanked there and doesn't throw them off, doesn't stumble. Somebody yanks me like that, and I'm just walking, and I'm probably falling down, you know. But for Josh, he just keeps going, keeps his balance, keeps his feet moving. Really impressive athleticism. Just so light on his feet. Very powerful athlete. He's a really impressive. I mean, Josh grades out to me. Nolan Ziegler grades out as a top 200 player because he's got some size he's got to fill into, and there's some technical parts of his game that need work and those type of things. Josh graded out as a top 100 recruit for me, and very clear top 100 recruit. There aren't many players that combine this level of athleticism and size and instincts and a guy that isn't even close yet to his full potential. That's a nice cut right there. Watch this change the direction. Boom, just bounces it outside quickly and immediately. So when I talk about acceleration, this is what I'm talking about. Watch out of this cut. So once he's going downhill, he makes that inside cut there off his right foot and just jumps outside. But watch how quickly he gets back to full speed. Bam, and he's just immediately back to full stride, and he gets outside the defense. That is really impressive. That's the acceleration. When I break down film and I talk about, acceleration, that's the kind of acceleration that matters for a linebacker. Can you plant and just immediately get back to full speed in an opposite direction? That's what separates the good linebackers from the great linebackers. And that's one of those things you see from Josh Burnham on film that makes you say, hey, this is a kid that to me has big-time talent and big-time potential. And that's the reason that Josh Burnham grades out so high for me. He is, of the four linebackers we're going to talk about here today, he grades out the highest for me. Now, I think Jalen Sneed might have a higher ceiling, but that's debatable. Josh Burnham is my number one linebacker in this class. No matter who else Notre Dame signs that they're talking to, he'll barring somebody just taking a major jump as a senior, which could happen, right? I mean, Nolan Ziegler could end up as the number one linebacker in this class, and Junior Tuihalamaka could. Jalen Sneed could if they join the class. But Josh Burnham right now to me is just that combination of size, athleticism, instincts, playmaking ability, versatility. He's a kid that can play Will, he can play Mike, he can play sort of a strong side backer if Notre Dame were to go to that. He's a guy that I think has the ability in time to develop into maybe a 240-pound edge rusher in some nickel situations. He's got a lot of versatility. And that's the thing that when I look at Josh Burnham just really stands out to me. He has got the total package, and he's not close to being the full player that I believe he's going to be. So that's